Hello everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Oh folks, this is a special one. What is considered the most dreaded album ever released from Helloween. Pink Bubbles Go Ape. Oh, okay. Before I get into anything else, I want to address something with this. All right, now, if I recall correctly, this band lineup, this is not the last album that was released featuring vocalist Michael Kiske. All right. I've actually already covered that. That was a Chameleon album. Chameleon was, I believe, if I remember correctly, I think it was the fifth album in the run, maybe the sixth. But where I'm going with this is, at this point, I've actually covered every album featuring Michael Kiske in Helloween and not realized it, because he came back to do the self-titled Helloween album, which was the very first Helloween album I ever reviewed. Okay, so, and I bring all this up because if you're one of my regular viewers, you know I'm going to go see them live in May. And when I go see them live, he is the vocalist again. So, now I don't know if it's the entire band or not that's doing this, but this band considered of Michael Waketh. I'm pronouncing all these wrong. You know, I'm going to have the screen that puts it all up right. All right, Marcus Groskopf, Michael Kiske, Ingo Schweichenberg, and Roland Grappow. Oof, those names are not easy. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you, I figured out how to fix this album. I figured out how to make this album a lot better, and I figured out that the biggest problem with this album, I don't know if it was if it was the band had too much say, or the label had too much say, or they were purposely screwing with each other, or what. This could have been a really solid album. It honestly could have been, instead of the continuous joke that it is. All right. But I'll get to the fix at the end of this, so you gotta sit through the rest. All right. Albums up with Kids of the Century, generic early 90s power metal that tries to be cute with proggy touch. Nope, hold on. Kids of the Century is the second track album. First cut on the album is Pink Bubbles Go Ape. 36 seconds. It's really cute. It's this cute little acoustic thing. Listen to the lyrics. It's cute. It's fun. It goes kind of like with some of the folksier stuff that I talk about in the review for Chameleon. All right. Kids of the Century. So where was I? Yeah. All right. So tries to be cute with proggy touches on top of the 90s power metal thing. The problem is, I want to say that it wants to be mainstream, but it screams, I need ADHD medication. And it all makes the song feel way too long. That goes on to track 3, which is Back on the Streets. I like the way this one starts off. Has some really wicked burn to it, actually. The production and the mixing on this album is confusing me a little bit. It sounds like they want it to sound a little bit like the Damn Yankees self-titled debut album, but they weren't sure how to get the music to match that style of production. After all that has been said, at the core of the song is pretty decent. Could have been better, but it's pretty decent. Then we get to number 1. Same comments I've already made. The only difference is that if this song was modern, I would say that they put it together using a computer and some guitar samples. It really didn't feel like there was an actual band playing this song. It really felt like a computer generated put together song, or a sample put together generated song. Kind of interesting that way. All right. This next song, when it comes to Helloween, half their catalog seems like you're supposed to take it serious as a serious metal band. The other half of the catalog is songs like Heavy Metal Hamsters. Heavy Metal Hamsters, Heavy Metal Hamsters, Heavy Metal Hamsters, Heavy Metal hamsters. It's really freaking catchy. Really catchy. Like, just, but seriously, like, come on, what the, like, the problem is with a song like this, how are you supposed to take this band any more seriously than you take War? That's War, Gwar. I forgot how to spell. Not War, War. They're totally different things. One gave us a sweet tune called Lowrider. The other one looks like this. I'm going to come back around to Heavy Metal Hamsters in a little bit. Then we're on to Going Home. This one has some great live potential, but it's kind of meh on the album. And there's a bass solo in the middle of the song? This band really does continue to confuse me. Also hate the tone of the bass on the solo. Going Home, though, when I mean it has great live potential, the way the song was designed, it really does sound like it was meant to be played live. And, kind of like one of the last songs of the night kind of deal. And I actually think that when we go to see them live, I kind of hope they do play it live because I think it would be really good live. It's one of those ones that really falls flat on the album. And that bass solo really confuses me. And, oh man, I hate Fender Jazz bass, and that's really what it sounds like. Ugh. No. Might have been cool with something, like a Rickenbacker maybe, or if they had done it on, I don't want to say an SG. I play an SG bass. They tend to be a little more growly, fuzzy, which could be cool too. Or maybe they should have, 5-string basses weren't as popular yet at this time, so it's kind of hard to say if they should have went that way. I don't know. Either way, needed something different with the bass. Someone's Crying. This song could have been great as well if it wasn't for the rapid eighth notes on the double bass drum. My regular viewers know how I feel about this. Instead, this song just has to be good. Could have been great. Has to settle for good. It's a little on the basic power metal. A lot of that does come from the double kick drum. I really kind of like Someone's Crying, though. Decent tune. Mankind, musically, this one's a little more diverse than a lot of the other songs so far. Weirdly, it kind of reminds me of Styx, Mr. Roboto. It doesn't sound anything like the classic track, but it kind of has a vibe and energy to it that reminds me of that, and not in a bad way. Like when you talk about all the good things about, Mr. Roboto, like that grand operatic kind of storyline going on and whatnot. Now, Mr. Roboto was supposed to be part of a giant grand opera thing. This is just an individual track, which I think is kind of why it works for me. In a lot of cases, actually, going with that theatrical, this one may have actually improved on those theatrical nuances that Stick was even going for with Mr. Roboto. It's good tune. I think it feels right. After that, we have I'm Doing Fine, Crazy Man. And I'm Doing Fine, Crazy Man. I had to check the writing credits on this one. I would have sworn that it was a bassist drummer song because it really, if you listen to the song, man, it definitely sounds like a bassist drummer song. It's got this great kind of funky jazz thing going on to it while bringing home some straight ahead grooves at the same time. I really kind of was digging on this one with the way it was going. Turns out, yes, bassist. So it was half right. That was bassist and guitarist. It happens. Then we got the Chans. This one is power metal. Do you like power metal? Do you like power metal? If you like power metal, you'll most likely enjoy this song. And the bass on this one, really clean and present. Cuts right through the mix, which once again is really weird, especially with metal bands. Power metal, any type of metal. That's the lack of hearing bass. I know everybody makes the joke about Metallica's And Justice for All album, but not hearing the bass on it. It's a joke throughout metal in general, okay? That the bass really, you can't hear it. It's never really there. And a lot of times it's purely because the bass is usually replicating more or less what the rhythm guitar is doing. And instead of going to lower notes or whatever, the bass usually just replicates what it's doing, except for on one string. I'm not a fan of that idea. I'm not a fan of that style. Even myself as a musician, when, I played in my band was up and running, we had a very clear method for doing things, and in which case we always made sure that the bass and the rhythm guitar did not sound the same. They did not sound like they were doubling each other. Which is why it stands out so much on Helloween, at least on particular songs. The downside is every time the bass stands out, it reminds me how much I hate the sound of the bass on Helloween. So I'm hoping live the bass sounds cooler. After that, we get into the chants. That was a song I was just talking about, sorry, with the whole power metal thing and whatnot. I didn't say the name. So the chance is the one where it's like, do you like power metal? Ooh, yeah, okay. All right, now I sound like an idiot. All right, the album finishes off with Your Turn. Opening the album on a cute little acoustic ditty made sense. Closing the album on a classic acoustic driven power ballad is odd, but it works. On a cassette or vinyl, it probably could have closed out side A, but since I'm talking compact disc, it only works as closing out the album as a whole. And we'll get into this as I go here because I got to cover the bonus tracks and then a few other things. All right. So with the bonus tracks, we got Blue Suede Shoes. And yes, I'm talking about that Blue Suede Shoes, the classic. This rendition is too tight. It's too put together. It sounds like they over-rehearsed it instead of just jamming it out and having some fun with it. The song should always sound like it's live. The song should always sound loose. Live kind of have that great kind of rock and roll, could explode at any time kind of vibe. As far as I'm concerned, however, kind of like Louie Louie or Wow thing, those songs always just kind of, you gotta just kind of drop them like you're playing it live and, you're jamming it out and having a good time with it, right? And that's how Blue Suede Shoes should sound, and it doesn't sound. It sounds way too tight, way too... Doesn't work for me. And that was a single to Kids of the Century. Or a B-side, sorry, on the single for Kids of the Century, which I'm going to come back around to in a minute. Then we got Shit and Lobster. This is a good and proper B-side. I dig it. It is what a B-side should be. I'm cool with bands releasing kind of humorous songs or songs that aren't 100% like, kind of more serious album worthy kind of stuff, I would say. Shit and Lobsters falls in that. Heavy Metal Hamster falls into that. Moving on. All right. Les Ambourgeois Walkways. I hope I said that right. This one is definitely channeling Steve Vai doing slow, sexy jazz guitar metal. I've covered some Steve Vai before. You get into like Fire Garden, stuff like that. This is kind of like into there where it's definitely sexy, slow a little bit. This one not being included on the album, I honestly think was a crime. This is the best song on this collection by far. Best put together, best arrangements. It has all the right changes in all the right places, all the solos, some real passion to it. This is one of those instrumental tracks that makes you honestly stand up and give Helloween some major kudos and props for the musicians that they are. Seriously, really should have been included on the album. And then the last bonus track is You Run With the Pack. Les Ambourgeois Walkways and You Run With the Pack were both on the number 1 single. So, I mentioned in the beginning I could fix this album, and I'm going to tell you how I'd fix this album. This is how this album should have been released. Now, I took the time and effort to map it out and see how all the songs fit and everything like that. Theoretically, this album could have had, without the bonus tracks, could have had a vinyl release. but one of the sides would have come just a little bit, like 23 minutes. Normally it's 22 minutes for a vinyl side, so I'm pushing it. I use that as a guideline when I put this together. So this is how I would have done this album. I would have opened up with Pink Bubbles Go Ape, still no problem. Then I would have used the B side, Running with the Pack. Then I would have went into Mankind, The Chance, Back on the Street, and finished the first side with number 21, and that works out to approximately 23 minutes. The other side would have been opening up with Someone's Crying, I'm Doing Fine, Crazy Man, Your Turn, Les Ambourgeois Walkways, and Going Home would have closed it out. Then, as the B-sides, you would have had Still Blue Suede Shoes, Shit Lobsters, Heavy Metal Hamsters, and Kids of the Century. Heavy Metal Hamsters is a really good song. It really is. To me, it's the type of good song that should be a B-side. Same with Shit and Lobsters. It's an enjoyable song, but it's an enjoyable song that should be a B-side. And Kids of the Century, I don't know how it was an A-side when it should have been a B-side. And that is how I honestly would have fixed Pink Bubbles Go Ape. And I've put the mix together and I've listened to it. And that mix, the way I put it together, really I think it's a better mix, and I think the album would have done a lot better, and I don't think it'd be the joke that it is. And I think it even would have maintained the surrealty that they were going for with this album, because they really were going with a definite surreal kind of vibe. And I don't know. I think it could have been a lot better. That's my views. Those are my opinions. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, folks. That's what the comment section is for. On your way down the comment section, you will see there is a link that will take you to Patreon. Please feel free to click on that link and throw some money my way. There's a like button, subscribe button, and bell for notifications. If you could hit those for me. And peace, love, take care.